Are you looking for messages of truth to empower you? Well, then I got you. You see, I'm someone who's been called from deep levels of oppression and mediocrity to now living a life of wholeness, strength, and abundance. I started out with many insecurities and fears, but today, after following Christ through many trials that were used for my rebirth, I stand changed, balanced, and strong. I operate in authenticity using knowledge of both the light and the dark. And it is through this duality that I extend to you my biblical acumen, intuition, testimony, and love. Come on and tap in. Good morning. Welcome back to another video. This one is entitled Do It Again. Do It Again. And the scripture that I'll be reading from is Jeremiah 36, verses 27 through 28. And it reads, After the king burned the scroll containing the words that Baruch had written at Jeremiah's dictation, the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah. Take another scroll and write on it all the words that were on the first scroll, which Jehoiakim, king of Judah, burned up. And so just a little backstory of this experience. God had come to Jeremiah the prophet and instructed him to give a message to the people. He wanted to speak a message against the people of Israel, the people of Judah, and to all the nations. Everyone was living in sin, and God wanted to get their attention. And he warned that adversity would come upon them if they did not turn from their sins, turn from their evil ways, and pray. And then he would forgive them. And so that was the message, basically. And Baruch the scribe had written all the words that Jeremiah gave him to read to the people. And so that's what Baruch did. And he read the words, the messages to the people. And word got back to Jehoiakim, the king, from some of the officials that were there about the message. And so before they took the scrolls to the king, they told Jeremiah the prophet and Baruch to go and hide. And so as the king received the scrolls, he was sitting in front of a fireplace during the winter. As he began to read, he started to become very angry at the words, and he started to throw the pages into the fire. So he did burn up the scrolls. He rejected the message. And so God revealed to Jeremiah, I know that he burned the scrolls, but I want you to take and make some more scrolls and write exactly what I told you to write the first time and read those to him. So God essentially told him that despite the outcome that looks like it did not work, I want you to do it again. And so I'm bringing this message to you this morning because God is saying the same thing to you. Whoever I'm talking to, I believe that God has been giving you instruction. And I believe that you have heeded the instruction. And just like Jeremiah, you made an attempt to take a stand at something. Only you know what we're talking about here. But I believe it has to do with you taking a stand about something or raising up a standard about something, addressing something, confronting something, or maybe starting something new that you hesitated to do, moving forward and approaching something that usually would intimidate you. It's something that God told you to do that you would usually be reluctant to do, but you did it. And of course, the outcome wasn't great, which is why you would normally, you know, alleviate, this type of action. So, however, God is saying, do it again, do it again. And I know that, it's hard to hear this depending on the degree of your situation. Some people, we're dealing with some really tough situations, and so hear God say, do it again. You're like, really? But God got you though. He has you. He's with you. God is working on your situation. He's working things out for you. God is ordering your steps. He's showing you how to navigate. He is working things out on his end so that you come out with a victory. That's one thing about God. When you turn to him and you put him first and you follow his will, he guarantees a victory. God's not going to lose, you know. And God is going to give you greater than what you had before. He's going to give you greater than what you may have lost, or whatever you may lose through your process. Because yes, as we move forward in obedience, sometimes things, yeah, they'll continue to fall apart um because of the resistance, of what you're dealing with. But God, like I said, God is in control, and you have to have that faith and show that faith and keep walking and being obedient and taking action the way he shows you, so that you can get that expected end that you're looking forward to. Okay. Yeah. So God is saying, that, it's critical right now to keep moving and to keep um yourself steady and keep at the same pace that you've been going, and to make progress. Some people, we hesitate sometimes. Okay. Some people's hesitating, they're moving slow, but God is saying to be confident in him. He's not asking you to be confident in yourself or confident with the situation you're dealing with. Be confident in him. Because if you wait too long, you take too long to be obedient to what God is telling you, you can miss the train. I'm using an example. There's a train, there's an outcome that God has set up for you up the road, because you allow him to intervene and you allow him to take you through this process and develop you and grow you and heal you, to reset you, to set you on his path, to take you off a path of destruction that you may have been on, or just other people that are involved or connected to you may be on a path of destruction. It could be in a spiritual sense, it could be both physical and spiritual, which is probably what it is. But God is saying you can miss this train. I have it up here, but if you take too long or if you resist, you will miss this train. And see, the thing about that is, we have, during this learning process, we're learning. We have lessons and we have tests. And so if you don't move forward and obey God and pass the test, that means you got to repeat the lesson. So, there's loss involved with that. So say, you had somebody for you. Well, he's not going to hold up their entire life because you're not comfortable moving forward in the time he's giving you, right? Or say if he has the healing of a relationship up in store for you. Well, you can forfeit that. If you don't do the work and take the steps, you can forfeit it. And then one thing about relationships, they're delicate, Sometimes, most times when the relationships are destroyed, it's really hard to get them back together. It's really hard. But God can do it. But like he said, your obedience is key. And your obedience is what is going to be rewarded. Your obedience is what's going to bring your growth into fruition. It's going to bring your blessings into manifestation. So it's important that you follow his instruction. No one wants to keep repeating these lessons. I sure don't want to keep repeating lessons. So sometimes you have to stop focusing on the outcome from day to day and focus on the development process. Focus on listening to God, putting Him first, taking risks, taking chances, minimizing the delays. And I know it's a little difficult, and I feel the need to talk about how difficult it is and to talk about how sometimes we hesitate. And I feel like, even though I don't believe the people that God leads to me, I believe my collective, my people that are connected to me, we're obedient. We're obedient. But I just feel like somebody's struggling. You know what I mean? There's still people who are having a hard time really being obedient. You're struggling and you're not moving forward in the way that God is leading you to. And you have to be careful. And I just want to warn you. I like to encourage, but I also will warn you that it's dangerous, to not follow God when God is trying to lead you, because He's usually coming in at a time where your course needs to be changed. So it's dangerous. I wanted to talk about scriptures because further down in Jeremiah, scriptures 31 and 32, I wanted to read that. And it says, "Therefore, thus saith the Lord of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, he shall have none to sit upon the throne of David, and his dead body shall be cast out in the day of the heat and in the night to the frost. And I will punish him and his seed and his servants for their iniquity, and I will bring upon them and the inhabitants of Jerusalem and upon the men of Judah all the evil I've pronounced against them, but they hearkened not." And God, he sound mean sometimes, but God knows exactly what you're headed for. He knows that the destruction is coming, and and for disobedience, He is going to allow that destruction to come upon you. Okay, see, the enemy, all the while you think you're winning, all the while you think you're doing okay, the enemy's setting you up. The enemy seeks to kill, steal, and destroy all the time. And so the enemy may let you feel like that you're getting somewhere or you're successful, but he's really setting you up to fail, for you to fail, to destroy you. And so God knows when it's time to intervene. And those of us who are called and chosen, God is not going to allow that to happen. He's going to intervene. And so He will let just enough destruction to happen to change your course. But there are some people who just won't listen at all. They're not led to listen to God. They're going to do their own thing. And so when you realize that, when you recognize that in some of the people that you're surrounded by, you want to disconnect from them, because it's an evil that you don't want to impact you. It's consequences coming that you don't want to impact you in your walk, in your family, in your process. And so it's important to disconnect from them, because as God said, that destruction is going to come upon them. And the reason why it comes upon them and their seed is because what we produce, our offspring, is usually following behind our life path. Like, we talked about in other videos. Well, I discussed in other videos that, what you do sends down experiences, it sends down even outcomes to your children. And then your children are offsprings of you. So they encounter the experiences, and and they're made off your DNA, made off of the mindset that you have, and the tendencies and the traits you have. Then they're more inclined to make the same mistakes. And so it's something that is going to happen anyway, but God has taken ownership of it and said, "I will bring it upon you. I will, because you're being disobedient. I'm trying to save you, but you're not listening." Sometimes I try to think about what is causing someone to be disobedient to God. Why, don't you care about your life? Why don't you care about your future? Why don't you care about your purpose? And doing what you came here to do. We came to this earth to do specific things. We came to live our lives, and we came to enjoy life, and we go through things, and we experience different kinds of emotions. But, we were supposed to live a life with God, commune with God. And that's what He created us. He created us for His good pleasure. And so we're not supposed to live separate from Him. Okay, but I try to understand, and I realize that, it could be insecurities that cause people to shy away from God's will. It could be, a lot of times people have a strong will. They're focused on their priorities, what makes life feel good for them. And a lot of times it's things like relationships. There's like a lot of women who prioritize men because we were created to be a helpmate. So we're wired, to want to be attached to a man. We're wired that way. But we also have to be balanced. And it's not always the time for that. You have to do groundwork and you have to make sure you have a standard. There's things that has to take place outside of that. Every other part of your life is interconnected to it. A lot of times for men, they prioritize enterprise, they prioritize money, they prioritize, physical things, having dominion, because that's what they were created for. And so a lot of times we make these things our priority and then we make God compete with them, and God's not going to compete with them, especially when it's a time of intervention. You want to make sure that you put God first. And it feels risky, if you're focused on, that thing that's important to you. It'll get a little testy, look a little risky, but God got you. Whatever you were able to obtain for yourself, God can beat that times 10. Okay. God can bless you beyond what you can even imagine. And so that's something that you want to focus on. Focus on your process and focus on God taking you to the next level so that you can gain more than you ever have. Relationships that you've had in the past before God was involved will not be nearly as fulfilling and satisfying as the ones where God has put them together. When God brings a relationship together, it lacks nothing. When God blesses you in your finances, you lack nothing. God will give you blessing that's pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And God will bless you beyond what you can even think. So what you were able to obtain by yourself on your own is nothing compared to what he has for you. And if God can trust you with a little, because believe me, whatever you have when he comes and calls you is a little, then he can trust you with much more, and he will bless you with much more. So I just want to encourage somebody today, back to the whole point of it all, that whatever you have done in obedience to God's instruction, go ahead and do it again. Get yourself ready. Stand up. Stand up, push forward, and do it again. So God can continue to move you forward, equip you for the next level, equip you to take your family to the next level, take your bloodline to the next level, and to live higher and to live greater in this life that God has given to us. So you be blessed. Blessings to you and yours. And I will be here again next week, same time, same place. Bye.